to India and Ireland, round Africa and back again. We don't really need to know just where we'll go. Maybe Canada, then to Brazil, then through the Alpine foothills. All I really want to know is, can we go? Oh baby, can we go? Round and around the globe.
Welcome to Take Me With You, episode 123. I'm Ryan,
And I'm Cheryl. We are two well-traveled people who want to go everywhere.
but that's not going to happen. So instead, we'll travel vicariously by inviting a guest to share their unique travel stories with us.
Today, we're doing an episode with just us. No guest. So,
Just us.
Yeah, go ahead and tune out if you don't like us.
I have a feeling that if they don't like us, they probably wouldn't be tuning in the first place because we're in every episode.
Oh, yeah. We talk a lot, too. So they're probably on board already. Thanks, guys. Means a lot.
Yeah, we appreciate that. So Cheryl, if we don't have a guest, what are we going to be doing today?
We're going to chat, talk about travel. First order of business, though, is that a year ago is when the world started shutting down. Like, this episode comes out on March 8th. And
Yeah.
that was when so many things started being canceled and closing. And are you looking up a calendar now?
What? Yes, I'm looking at my calendar. Because this is, we record in the same room that I now work from and teach from. So all my teaching stuff is here. And look at that. It was March 12th was the first day of school that we were closed for the virus. I have it written down as virus closure just on that one day. And so actually it was called, well, because at that point, we didn't realize it was going to be for the rest of the school year.
Yeah. What I want to do is go back and listen to the episode that we released about COVID, I think like in April, because I think we made some predictions and I'd love to hear what they are.
Ooh, that's true. I think you're right. I think we did make some predictions.
Mm-hmm.
Let me check our fancy spreadsheet. Do our listeners know that we have a fancy spreadsheet?
Oh, I'm sure we talk about it from time to time.
Okay.
March 23rd. We were pretty quick.
March 23rd, which at that point in time, we were still thinking this was going to be over in like a few weeks to a month.
Oh, yeah. So here we are. It's been a year. Congrats.
Yep. And then I just got an email today with the confirmation that secondary schools, so that's the middle schools and the high schools, we will not be going back in person this school year.
Okay. I mean, at this point, that seems like that makes sense.
Yes, I fully support that decision. I think it's the right decision. Our elementaries, our kindergarten and first grade have already gone back. And by the end of March, all of elementary is supposed to be back, assuming obviously that things are positive and continue to work in a good way. And that also still makes sense to me. It's just because we aren't all in one class, I just don't know how to do it logistically to keep students separate and keep everybody safe at a secondary level. So, but we're going to expand some other in-person opportunities, even though it's not full-time school, that we'll do in person to try and, help those that need that. But yeah, if you had asked me a year ago today, I would have had no idea.
Yeah. Well, so Ryan, we still can't travel, or not much. I've done some driving. But let's talk about our previous travels / get excited for a little bit. Let's get vaguely excited for when we can travel again.
Get excited about the idea of traveling?
Yes. I want to plan some rough outlines of trips. So what I want to do is, because what I'm doing right now is I'm like daydreaming about all the places that I could go someday. But I'm not going to plan a specific trip. I'm not going to book a trip, but I am thinking about like, oh man, so I want to go to Ireland at some point. And I've heard a lot about Ireland from you and from, some of our guests. But it's hard sometimes narrowing down like, okay, so what does a week in Ireland look like? Like, what would your recommendations be? So what I want to do is you and I are going to take turns. And we are going to map out if somebody visits a place that we've been to 1 week, what are they doing?
Ooh, okay. When we say place, are we talking country or city or region? Like, how are we defining place?
I want to do country.
Okay.
Because that's what's been on my mind is I'm like, okay, when I go to Iceland, what am I doing in Iceland? Things like that. And I know and so I might as well use this recording time to get this information out of you.
I mean, that makes sense. Sure, you can get that information out of me. Absolutely.
Great. Okay, let's start with Ireland then. If I go to Ireland for 1 week, what am I doing?
If you go to Ireland for 1 week, well, my first question is, are you doing the entire island? So both the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland, or are we just doing one of those?
It is your call. What should I do?
This is not a finalized plan. This is an off the cuff. If you like grabbed me on the street and we were walking, what would I say? Why are you laughing? Why is that funny?
Because of course you're like, oh no, I didn't get it perfect when I was put on the spot to vaguely give an outline. Yep. No one's worried about you getting it perfect.
That's correct.
Okay.
Well, no one except for me. Got it. Okay. So definitely I would say Dublin, like just because it's an iconic city. So definitely do Dublin, but I don't know that you need to spend a ton of time in Dublin.
Okay.
Like it's cool, and I know you like cities a lot, so you might want to spend more time there than me. And we did a food tour, so definitely think about doing a food tour because I know you love those. I would say definitely going to Trinity College and seeing the Book of Kells, because that's pretty cool. Although I was more impressed with the library that you get to see after you see the Book of Kells than the actual book itself, but the book itself is cool too. And then I would say if you can, rent a car and drive and pick where you want to go. There are lots of options of places you can go. The other main big city is Galway, and it's on the opposite side of the island. It's almost straight west from Dublin. So going all the way across, and you can drive that in just a few hours. I think it's maybe a 3-hour drive between the two. We didn't actually do that particular drive, but it's not super long. So you could do that pretty quickly if you wanted to do the big cities. But I personally enjoyed kind of the southern and western coast a little bit more. So anywhere along the coast down there that you can spend time, and as many or as few days as you want. You could hop, from day to day to day if you wanted to. But I think it was Kinsale, I think was the one that we stayed in that I really liked. But there are a lot that are really similar, and they're small towns, they're on the water, they're just Irish culture. It's beautiful and it's cool. So definitely do that. I think the Ring of Kerry and the Dingle Peninsula and all of that stuff is pretty touristy, but it's also gorgeous. And so it's worth it if you feel like you have the time. A lot of people talked about how the Dingle Peninsula is like so much better than the Ring of Kerry, and that's not really what my personal experience was. So I would say either one, whichever one you feel like you're more interested in. But definitely, if you do the Ring of Kerry, definitely do the Skellig Loop that all the tour buses can't go on. And you can go to the Skellig Chocolate Factory And if you can do Skellig Michael, I will be jealous of you. But even just seeing it, it's just beautiful coastline over there. And there's, now I'm trying to remember what it's called. Healy Pass. I think it's called Healy Pass. It's off the beaten path. And it was gorgeous. I think the whole time that we were driving it, I think we saw one other car, 2 cars maybe, that passed us at one point. But it was like,
Wow.
It was just us in this valley of just nature. And it was gorgeous. So that's definitely worth a little detour if you're doing the driving. So that's if you're just doing the Republic of Ireland. And you could definitely do that for a week.
Okay, cool.
Easily.
Nice. I will do
But
that.
I also loved Northern Ireland. So do a second week there.
All right, you pick a country for me.
Well, which country do you think I'm going to pick, Cheryl?
Spain.
The most obvious one that you have been to and that you know well and that I do not. Yes, Spain. Because I still have not been to Spain.
You know, what's funny is I knew that I was going to bring this up, and I did not think in advance about what I would recommend. Okay. Man, I love Spain. Gosh. For you, if you had 1 week and you were going to Spain, I think I would tell you go to Barcelona and then do day trips.
All out of Barcelona.
I think so, because I think if it was 2 weeks, or if you wanted like more of a sample platter, I'd say go here, go here, go here. Like I've done before, like hop around.
Yeah.
But I think you're going to get so much variety just within the like Catalonia region that you could be there for a week and fill it, because you could do several days and be full of activities in Barcelona itself. Because I've been there twice and there's still stuff that I haven't gotten to. And then, I mean, where you really want to go that's outside of Barcelona is Montserrat. And I think that's a day from what we've heard. Yeah. And then I would highly recommend taking the train up to Girona. That's a really cool town. But then even like we've heard cool stuff about Figueres. We haven't been there, but that sounds really cool. Mm-hmm. I mean, at that point, you're so close to France if you wanted to like hop over the border for funsies or something. And then like Beth loved the beach out from Girona, which is like way more like because Barcelona's on the coast, so you can get like beach fun times, which you're not really into beach fun times all the time. It kind of maybe depends on if there's cool stuff at the beach, I'm guessing. Although there is apparently a good aquarium in Barcelona. But then you get the like secluded beach out Girona is inland, but if you go there and then head out to the coast, apparently it's really great. So, I mean, I think you would fill a week and be really happy if you just like set up camp in Barcelona, maybe even like get a place in Barcelona for the whole week and do literal just day trips and always come back, or maybe like go stay in Girona or something. And Barcelona's huge, so it's a major airport and stuff too. You could take the train all the way down to Valencia, because that's only a couple hours, and that's a really cool city as well. But honestly, like that could be a day trip or even just an overnight trip. It's not that far. So that's what I have to say for you.
Cool. Okay, when are we going, Cheryl?
Oh gosh. This is the bad part of this podcast where we can't do all these things we talk about, and the bad part of COVID times is we can talk about it. This is why we're doing vague travel planning, not specific travel planning, Ryan.
I don't know. It feels pretty specific right now. Specifically, all the things I can't do.
All right. Let's say I have a week and I'm going to Iceland. What am I doing?
Oh, Iceland. It depends on which time of year you're going. Are you going in the summer or not?
Well, you tell me when I should go.
Well, I've only been in the not summer.
Did you like the not summer?
I did, but it was cold.
I mean, that's fine.
Okay.
Is it less crowded in the not summer?
Yes, it is. It is less crowded in the not summer. I mean, there were still quite a few people when I was there, and I was there in April, but it's definitely less crowded than when it is in the summer. But one of the advantages of going in the not summer is it still can be dark, which means you might have a chance to see the northern lights. Which, if you go in the summer, it will not get dark enough for you to see the northern lights. So that's just not an option. And obviously, that's not something you can plan for or that you can control or do. But I think going in a time where that's at least a possibility is very cool. I would say you probably are going to stay in or just outside of Reykjavik, the capital. And there's a few cool things there. It's not, I mean, a huge, amazing city, but it's pretty. It's gorgeous. And there are some cool things to do in the city. There's, the church and the Pearl and some other cool things to go ahead and see. But I think most of your time is going to be spent kind of like you recommended for me in Barcelona, is doing sort of day trips outside of Reykjavik.
Nice.
So I'd recommend that you do the Golden Circle, and whether you rent a car and drive that, or there's lots of tours that you can go on. And it's basically this big road, and it hits a lot of the big major cool sites, several waterfalls and whatever, it's Thingvellir or something. I don't know how to say that correctly, but it's the cool spot where it's going in between the two different continental plates, and it's like the continental plates are dividing, and it's very cool. So that's really cool. And Geyser is there, that all geysers are named after. Like all of the kind of the big things are all right there. And the other thing that I would recommend then is that you take a trip a little bit farther east and south to a little town called Vik, V-I-K, and it's on the coast, and it's just a beautiful little town right there that has some cool stuff, and steam just coming out of the ground in random places.
Cool.
As it does in Iceland. So
yay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think those are probably the big things. I mean, you can do the Golden Circle in one day even, but kind of, driving out and then going to see the things. You like to hike, so there's all sorts of places that you can go and you can hike. And like the Golden Circle, a lot of those places you can go and visit for like an hour, or you can go and hike around for multiple hours and actually make
nice.
multiple days out of the whole thing if you wanted to. And that could be
Cool.
really fun. So,
Great.
yes.
Book it. All right. What
So
do you
now
wanna
for
hear about?
you,
Mhm.
yeah, I think what I'd actually like to hear about is Italy. Even though I've been to Italy, I haven't been to two of the major cities in Italy that you have, Florence and Rome. So I've been to Venice, so I get that and love it and would totally go back. But if I've only got a week, I should probably go to places I haven't been.
Yeah. So Italy for you, do you need going back to Venice to be part of this week? Or are you
No.
going to only new places?
I'm okay with only new places. Now, if you think that Venice is cool enough to go back, I love Venice and would
Yeah.
totally love it. But I don't feel like I would have to hit that. Otherwise, I'm missing out.
Okay. So fly into Rome, major airport. That totally makes sense. There are such good trains in Italy and such good local transportation within cities that I would not rent a car. I think I would just rely on various forms of public transportation.
Nice.
One of the places I think I'm going to tell you is a place I haven't been to, but I think you got to go to Cinque Terre.
Mm,
That's
yeah.
so high on my list, and I haven't been there. And whenever I talk to someone who's been there, it's like as cool as it seems. And
Yeah.
so I think that would be good. So I would start in Rome and then take a train up to Florence. And then you could take a train out to the coast to Pisa if you did want to see Pisa. I mean, the only thing I
Have you
know about
been?
Pisa, no, but
Okay.
it's in like an hour train from Florence.
Okay.
And so if you want to go see the Leaning Tower, I don't know what else is in Pisa, so it kind of depends on if
Well,
there was other
yeah, and the
stuff.
tower itself isn't necessarily a huge attraction for me. However, uh, Galileo did drop two objects from the Leaning Tower to demonstrate that gravity accelerates all objects at the same rate. So that's actually what intrigues me the most about the Leaning Tower is that Galileo did a cool experiment there. Um, so I could see myself going for that reason.
But here's what's cool is Pisa is on the way directly to Cinque Terre.
Oh,
So
okay.
you could take the train from Florence to the coast, which is Pisa, and then you go a little further north to Cinque Terre.
Oh, okay.
So I would do like a mix of the more big city stuff and then the coastal.
Mm-hmm.
I was only in Florence for a day, and I thought it was great. I mean, we went to the museum where the David statue
Mm-hmm.
is, and we went across like this really cool bridge, and gosh,
You
walked
you
around.
did like the
Oh, we climbed the
dome
Duomo.
thing,
Yep,
right?
the Duomo. That was a big one. That
Yeah.
church is amazing there. It's beautiful. Um, but like because we were only going to be there for a day, I didn't look into like what else all is there to do in Florence. And so I would think like maybe copy what Lisa did. We did 3 days in Rome, 1 day in Florence, and then we went to Venice. But then you could go out to the coast from there.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think
What
that's
are
what I would
the
do.
absolutely must-dos in Rome? Because I mean, Rome's a huge, huge city,
Yeah.
and Vatican City's there too. So,
Mm-hmm. I mean, I loved everything we did. We went to the Colosseum. Um, and that was, we went and toured it, but I think like at least go see the Colosseum. It was cool to tour it though. But then there's a lot that's close to the Colosseum. There's also like, probably this is because any city that's before cars, there's a lot that's really close to each other. So you can kind of
mm,
like see a lot of similar things in one area. But yeah, we saw the Pantheon. That was really amazing. We climbed up the St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican, and we went
mm,
and saw the museum in the Vatican, which includes the Sistine Chapel. It's at the very
okay,
end of that. You have to go through in order, but
of
um,
course.
yeah, it was worth it. But then I loved that Testaccio neighborhood where we went on the food tour. The food
Mm,
tour was cool, but just the neighborhood was so interesting between that jar
mm.
mountain and the pyramid. It was like such an interesting neighborhood. So that was really fun too. Man, I think anything that you've heard, like, oh, you got to go to this in Rome, like everything was so impressive there.
Mm.
So I thought it was all really great. Yeah. My parents have been in Naples. They suggested don't bother. Like, especially it's in the
Oh,
opposite
okay.
direction. It's south. So I think if you were
Right.
heading out to the islands or, like the coast or anything, maybe that would make sense. But
Yeah, I would like to do Pompeii, but I don't, in a week, I don't think I could do both. I couldn't go north and south from
yeah.
Rome. It would be one or the other. So,
Yes. I agree. Um yeah, so that's my suggestion for Italy.
okay, when are we going? I think that's going to be my answer after each of these here, Cheryl.
I want to hear one more. I want to hear
Okay.
about Australia.
Okay. Australia, and you have 1 week.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a bummer with that flight length, but
Yeah, it is. Well, but to be fair, I was only there slightly longer than 1 week. So,
well, and I guess what if I was to like do New Zealand during the other week. And you know what I mean? So then there's like, I'm
Yeah.
doing more in that region of the world, but I'm actually only in Australia for a week.
Right. If you were to do New Zealand the other week and didn't invite me, I would unfriend you. That's probably not true, but I would be really jealous. I think I would probably say, now to be fair, I haven't done all of Australia. I've only done the eastern coast. I haven't seen anything on the west, and I didn't go into the outback. So
Okay.
keep that in mind. But I think Sydney as your home base is a great home base. Sydney
Okay.
itself, again, you love a good city,
Mhm.
and Sydney's an awesome city. There is so much stuff in Sydney. There's the Opera House, there's the big, huge bridge, there's like multiple sides of the sort of waterway that goes through there. There's Bondi Beach and like all sorts of great things just in Sydney. Like we didn't do a food tour, but I guarantee you there are food tours there.
Mm.
I loved the aquarium there. I don't know whether or not you would necessarily love it if you were going with your husband and Jack, your stepson. I think
Mhm.
that they would very much enjoy the aquarium, and so I think you
I
would
love an
enjoy it as
aquarium,
well.
and Daryl's
So-
like so into zoos and aquariums.
Yeah, I know.
So
So
yeah.
I think you guys would enjoy it. I loved it. I don't know that I would necessarily say it is the best aquarium I've ever been to, but it was real good. It was just really well done. So I would highly recommend the aquarium. And then again, kind of like we said, doing some day trips out from Sydney. I think doing a day trip out to the Blue Mountains, where and like Kuranda and sort of that area. Actually, that's different. So going out to the Blue Mountains is again hiking. There's some hiking you can do out there. It's kind of like the Three Sisters is kind of like, it looks kind of like the Grand Canyon if the Grand Canyon was forested.
Oh.
And there's
That
like a
sounds
huge
awesome.
gondola that you can take like up or down, like from the top to the bottom. And then there's this, I think I talked about this in one of my earlier Wish You Were
Yes.
Here's, like early on, it's not exactly a funicular, but the train thing that is like super steep that you can take, and it takes you through a dark tunnel, like through, anyway, it's very cool. And there's all sorts of paths and things down at the bottom that you can like walk through and see. And that's really, really cool. So I think that's definitely worth it. I think, now I'm trying to remember if it was in the same spot or not, because it was not quite 10 years ago, but it was like 8 years ago, I think, when I
Oh
was
my
there.
gosh. It was
Yeah, it
that
was-
long ago?
It was 2012. It was November of 2012.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was a while ago now, which is crazy, right?
Yeah.
So, but they've got spots where you can go, and there's I think it's considered a zoo, again, right up your family's alley, but where they've got wombats and kangaroos and wallabies and koalas, and you can hold a koala. So you
Oh
need
my
to probably
gosh.
hold a koala, Cheryl.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yes. I would love to.
Yep. So, I mean, I think, and just a lot of those things, depending on how long you spend in Sydney, you could also get a flight and go north and kind of go up into where like the rainforest is, and go off and do like a side trip to go to the Great Barrier Reef and do some of those things. But then you'd have to spend less time in the city, which you could do. Like, I don't think we definitely weren't in Sydney for a whole week. I think we were in Sydney for maybe 3 or 4 days, and we spent the rest of the time up north. But some of that was for the eclipse. So I would say probably focus on Sydney, but if you determine that, hey, I'm bored, then you could definitely go up north. Not that you would get bored, but you could go up north and see some other things that are pretty cool up there as well.
Cool. Nice. Okay.
Yeah. All right, Cheryl, one more for you. And this one might sound kind of silly, but I've still never been to Hawaii. And so you've been to Hawaii, yes?
Yes. Yes. 3 times. Yeah.
Same island every time, or different islands?
Different islands. I've been
Perfect.
to 3 islands.
So if I only had a week in Hawaii, which island should I go to and what should I do?
Okay.
Or maybe you island hop, but I don't feel like people do that usually.
I think they do. My family did
Oh, okay.
one time. I mean, it's
Okay.
so easy to get to them now. Like, I went in third grade was the first time I went, and we did half of our time in Maui and half of our time in Kauai, and it was just a little local flight. I mean, one of the islands you need to visit is the one I haven't been to, which is the Big Island, the island of Hawaii.
Uh-huh.
And I really want to go there. First of all, volcanoes. I mean,
Yeah.
you need to go there. I need to go there. But also, apparently, it's kind of a cool place. Just like you can see the like cocoa and coffee farms, which might sound a little boring, but apparently it's kind of
Oh.
cool to go like
No, that sounds
see
very cool.
the farms there and everything. So I think that that's kind of an interesting aspect of the Big Island too. So I think you would need to go there, especially like you're not going to go lay on the beach
No.
or like not for a week, even if you like
No.
did for an afternoon, maybe.
Yeah, Yeah.
Um,
that's correct.
But then, I'm trying to think between, I've been to Maui, Honolulu, nope, Oahu. Honolulu's the major city there, but Oahu and Kauai. And I would say, I mean, any of them are good. If you went to Maui, man, I actually think, well, this is funny because Oahu is probably the most touristy. Like Honolulu is a very touristy
Okay.
area. However, there's still some really cool stuff there. You can go to Pearl Harbor, and that's a pretty interesting memorial to go to. And I mean, just like that you can see the ship in the water and go out on the water in this like really unique looking memorial is a pretty interesting experience and pretty significant. And I know you don't always care about history, but you like sometimes care about history.
That's yeah, and that's definitely an important one for sure.
Yeah. So and I think it's just like it's cool that you can, I mean, it's weird and cool that you can see the ship specifically, you know. And that it's more of like a recent part of our nation's history, you know.
Yeah.
But then you can also head on over to the side of the island with a lot more rainfall, and you can go hiking in a rainforest and go like swim. Well, and not swim, more like wade, because you're not a swimmer, but you would wade in water. Yes, you can like wade in like a pool with like a waterfall. Like there's a big old waterfall, and then you can just like wade in the water there and kind of hang out, and it's all lovely because it's Hawaii temperatures. But like walking through a rainforest in Hawaii is very cool and more secluded if you go do that, as opposed to like just being on the beach in Honolulu.
Yeah. Okay.
And then you're not the biggest hiker necessarily. However, man, hiking Diamond Head was very cool. I did it before I was a hiker, so I got pretty tired, but also, I mean, just looking at Diamond Head, this like big mountain, like at the south end of the beach, on the island, but you can climb it, and what a cool view. It's a very cool view there. And so, yeah, but any island you go to, I would say, like, just get out of the main town area, go like drive on the other side of the island, because I mean, because of the weather patterns, each island kind of has the same, where like the southwest sides of the island are going to be where a lot more of the touristy things are, where people hang out more, and then the northeast sides of the islands are where there's a lot more rainfall and fewer people. And so if you just get out of town on any of them and just go like driving, it's so gorgeous there. So like on Maui, there's the Rotohana, and that's really amazing, and all these waterfalls. And so yeah, it's a great place. And yeah, there's a lot more to do than just lay on the beach. So, yeah, that was a little more vague, but those are my thoughts on
That's
Hawaii.
okay. I think that's great.
Yeah, I've gotten to do some pretty cool stuff in Hawaii. I got to go on a boat that went to the Lanai Island, which is like more of a private island that's just off of Maui. And we got to see spinner dolphins, like going right in front of our boat. And then we got to go snorkeling at this like little area at Lanai that they pulled off on. Seeing dolphins was very cool. Yeah, like whale watching, you would love, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. It's good. Awesome. Okay, well, there's our vague trip planning, and now we can daydream about specifics.
Great. When are we leaving? By the way, you didn't tell me that Diamond Head is a crater.
Oh, I forgot.
Like I Googled a picture and was like, that's a crater.
It's really cool.
Probably
it's
like
so
an extinct
pretty.
volcano.
Yeah.
You left that part out,
funny.
Cheryl.
That's why I was saying like it's worth going to it, even if you're not like super into hiking. Yeah. That's so funny.
And what's funny, and I know you and I have talked about this before, but like I'm not into hiking, but I am into walking, which I know it's like, well, they're the same. Well,
they're not. No, they're not.
They're not. Like I don't like to be extra strenuous, but I do like to walk. So as long as it's walking that isn't too strenuous. Now we're going to go ahead and transition to the last segment of our podcast called Wish You Were Here. During this segment, Cheryl and I are each going to share a travel attraction from the different places that we've been, something that's really cool that we might, take a snapshot of, put it on a postcard, and send it home to say, hey, wish you were here. Cheryl, what would you like to do for your Wish You Were Here today?
I would like to take us to a town called Stoke-on-Trent in England. Yes, there are dashes between those words. And something that you may not have known about Stoke-on-Trent, or if you even didn't know that it was a place, is that there are all sorts of ceramics that have come out of this area. And so specifically the one I want to talk about is called the World of Wedgwood. Have you heard of Wedgwood, China?
Yes.
So you can go on a factory tour there and check out how they make it. And of course, there's a gift shop. And so if you're into China, if that's your jam, you could get something Wedgwood from the Wedgwood factory. Apparently, there's also an outlet in this city. And so that was really fun. My mom likes Wedgwood a lot, so my family went there in 2000. And I think a factory tour is so fun, just seeing like the ins and out of how something is made. And I think I enjoy pottery a lot more with like a pottery wheel, but it was interesting seeing about fine china. But also there are so many ceramics factories in this one little town. So many. Like I'm looking on their town website and there's a list of like, there's 28.
In just their town?
Yes. So Stoke-on-Trent is like the pottery area of England, I guess.
Interesting.
And so if that's your jam, I mean, that would be a fun trip.
For sure.
Check out like all these China factories. So yeah, but check out the World of Wedgwood. It's pretty cool. I'm a fan.
That sounds cool.
How about you, Ryan?
I'm going to go back to the Olympic Peninsula of Washington State again, and I'm going to wish that I was on Hurricane Ridge. I don't know if you've been there or not.
No, I've never been there.
So Hurricane Ridge, it's part of the Olympic National Park and Forest, and there's a visitor center, and there's like tons of stuff that you can do there. But even if you're going across the peninsula and you stop at the Hurricane Ridge Visitor Center, it's a little off the main highway there, but it just has a really, really beautiful overlook view of the Olympic Mountains and valleys with, kind of like wildflowers and wild grasses that kind of grow, and it's just very picturesque and beautiful and quiet and serene, and it's just a fun kind of way to, if you're doing a lot of driving, take a little bit of time off to kind of walk around, stretch your legs, and just enjoy the beauty of nature.
Nice. I need to go there.
You do.
I love the Olympic Peninsula.
Yep.
That sounds great.
Yep. We would love it if you would follow us on social media. We are at Timwy Podcast. That's at TMWY for Take Me With You Podcast. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram.
You can also email us at timwaypodcast@gmail.com. Send us suggestions of guests we should have on, topics we should cover, and where we should go if we have 1 week in fill in the blank country of your choice. Plan a little 1 week trip for us, and I don't know, we might take it someday. We'll give you a shout out on the podcast for sure.
Absolutely. You can also call us and leave us a voicemail at 406-763-8699, or another way to remember that is 406-POD-TIMWY. We would really appreciate it if you would rate and review our podcast to tell other people what you think about it. Share about our podcast on your social media and subscribe to make sure that you don't miss an episode.
As always, thank you to Beth Reed Miller for the awesome artwork. You can check out more of Beth's artwork at Beth Is Something. And thank you to Erica Corbin for the use of her song Round the Globe. You can listen to Erica's music wherever music is sold or streamed.
That's all we have for this week's episode. So until next time, remember to take me with you.
Take me with you!
Can we get a sailboat chasing down the sunset as we float round and round the globe? Salty air and balmy nights, guided only by the lights above, and a little love. Oh, the world is out there waiting to